Here is one of a series of talks by spiritual leader Lola McDowell Lee, spanning 2 decades from the early 70s through the 90s. Lola was a Zen Roshi, whose Rinzai lineage included Dr. Henry Platov and renowned Zen master Shigetsu Sasaki. Lola was a religious scholar as well as an ordained Christian minister. While the talks are focused mainly on Zen and Buddhism, Lola drew on many spiritual traditions, including those of Jesus, Plato, Lao Tzu, the Hindu Vedas, Meister Eckhart, and Gurdjieff.
Now, I have been reading from Dionysus' Mystica Theologica, the mystical knowledge of God, which was written by a man named Dionysus, and he is mentioned in the Bible as the disciple of St. Paul. And he was at one time the mayor of Athens. And he wrote some letters, this Dionysius did, to his disciple, Timothy. And Timothy is mentioned as one of the persons who was making the most progress out of all of the disciples of the disciples. And you find some of that in the New Testament. I'm going to read you some of it. Difficult for me sometimes to know whether I should skip some of it or what, because it is sometimes a little difficult and it is a little obscure. But so far I haven't left out anything, and it may be boring to you, or you may have a big insight. Who knows? That's you. Huh? I'm just trying to share something. But take heed lest the profane hear, those, I say, who cling to creatures and imagine in themselves that nothing is beyond being, beyond existences, but suppose themselves to know him who maketh darkness his hiding place. If then the divine mysteries are beyond such, what shall be said of these yet more profane, who conceive that the underlying cause of all in terms of the outward forms of things, and assert that he exceeds not these impious and manifold conceits of their own making? Insofar as he is the cause of all things, we must needs impute and affirm of him all their attributes. But insofar as he is beyond and above all, we must needs deny those attributes to him entirely, yet not suppose this affirmation and denial are contradictory, but that he himself is before and above all denials, and beyond all negating and imputing. After this manner, then, the blessed Bartholomew says that divine truth is both much and very little, and the gospel both wide and great and yet brief. This seems to me a marvelous insight, for the excellent cause of all things may be revealed with many words, with few words, and even with no words, inasmuch as he is unutterable and unknowing, because beyond being he stands above all nature. He is truly revealed without coverings only to those who pass above all things impure and pure, who go beyond all climbing of sacred heights and leave behind all heavenly lights and sounds and supernal discourses, and are taken up into that darkness where he truly is, who is beyond all things. And at times, he who is set free of things seen and of things seeing enters into the truly mystical darkness of unknowing, wherefrom he puts out all intellectual knowledge and cleaves to that which is quite beyond touch and sight, the entire essence of him who is beyond all. Thus, through the voiding of all knowledge, he is joined with the better part of himself, not with any creature, nor with himself, nor with another, but with him who is inwardly unknowable, and in knowing nothing, he knows beyond the mind. We long exceedingly to dwell in this translucent darkness, and through our not seeing and not knowing, to see and to know him who is beyond both vision and knowledge. So you can see that this Dionysus at times writes quite openly. I mean, he says things in his Mystica Theologica, which in the Western world is the first time that had ever been reported. And at sometimes he writes quite cryptically, it seems, as if he were obscuring. And this is in the manner of Lao Tzu, in his canon of reason and virtue. It's very clear. The reason that can be reasoned is not the eternal reason. That's clear. Somewhat. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is of the heaven and earth the beginning. The nameable becomes of the 10,000 things. That's what he called the world, that the old Taoists called the world, the 10,000 things. The nameable becomes of the 10,000 things the mother. Their sameness, the nameable and the unnameable, their sameness is called a mystery. Indeed, it is the mystery of mysteries. Of all spirituality, it is the door. This sameness, this that does not contradict the other. He says it so clearly, and yet it is so obscure. It's cryptic, but it's certainly there if you know how to read it. But it's very obscure. And so is Dionysus. Now, if one has been confined to a particular mode of religion, or a particular way of looking at what we call God and this world, this universe, we have a particular way of looking at it, which we do. I mean, and if this is a very fundamental view that we have been carrying, to suddenly stumble upon someone like Lao Tzu or this Dionysius is very puzzling, to say the least. I mean, a little different for you. It's been drilled into you. I stand here and make holes in your head. Right? Yeah. And if one were to begin a study of Buddhism, we have the sutras, which are the threads which one follows back to the source. These sutras, which are very condensed statements, and everything that is non-essential is eliminated. So we can say these sutras are like seeds. And you sow these seeds in yourself, and a very big tree will grow. You know, we speak of the Garden of Paradise, the Garden of Eden, and in which are two trees. One is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is our viewpoint of looking at everything in duality. We do. And then there is this other tree, which is called the tree of life. So we have eaten of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and we must get back into that garden to taste that other fruit of the tree of life. Yeah. But anyway, the statements that Lao Tzu makes, you know, or in the sutras, they're very small, but they can go straight as an arrow to the point, to the source. And they're very puzzling. Yeah. Jesus' words are very precise and to the point. And they're puzzling. You know. He says to his disciples, if they ask you, you know, the multitudes, the people out there, if they ask you, what is the sign of the Father in you? What would you say? If people ask you, what is the sign of the Father in you? You say to them, it is a movement and a rest. Of course, if you say that to somebody, why, they're going to want to know what you're talking about, and you jolly well better know. Right? Yeah. But, and you know, and we read something like that, and it's puzzling. You know, what is the sign of the Father? What is the sign of God in you? God is within you. What sign do you have in you that the God is there? Well, there's a movement and a rest. Really? I don't see that. All I see is this traffic going around. Yeah. And then we can come, I think, and include Patanjali and his aphorisms, you know, out of India. And he says, right at the very beginning, all begins with Om. And you follow that right back to its source. And he has, you know, he went to the Vedas and he dug out of the Vedas this tremendous methodology that he called yoga, the aphorisms of Patanjali. And it is a tremendous method. Every little step is included and delineated. The Baals, this sect in India, they follow Patanjali explicitly, precisely. The disciples there take one thing at a time. And let us say their feelings about something, one thing only. And they follow it. And they hold it. They keep their focus on it. Maybe for years and years and years and years. And they don't complain. They're good disciples. Yeah. And they finally see something in themselves, feeling about something. So then they talk to their teacher, and then they can take the next step. And they look within for this, and they follow that maybe for years and years and years. Living within, they call it. Living within. See, there's not a lot of jumping around. Oh, I like this, and I don't like this, and today I'm going to observe myself, and maybe we can do it for 3 minutes. I got to observe myself. See, no, they're not that kind of thing. Just one thing at a time until that is totally ingested and assimilated. Now, somebody says living within. What does that mean to you? Living within. What does it mean? Now, all over this world, People all over this world think that meditation is a means to God. And it's true. And it's also not true. The Buddha said, there is no God because there is no self. There's no self and there is no God. Look again. Learn to live within. Well, if there's no self, that is, there's no eternal, forever and ever, ultimate me, what is this all about? What's this whole world about? I'm in the clutches of this sorcerer. How can I come to sit at the right hand of God if neither he nor I really exist? I mean, this is a big fight, too, who's going to sit at the right hand of God. You betcha. I think isn't there somebody out there that wants a lot of money and somebody else says he's crazy? You shouldn't ask for so much money. God didn't really ask him to do that. No, see? I'm not mentioning any names. Yeah, you should know who it is. Yeah, but God and me, here and there, we talk to ourselves, God and me. God is on my side, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that, and he's going to do the other thing. And someday I'm going to see him, and that's the goal of meditation. Now, Patanjali reverses this situation, and he says that meditation is the goal of meditation. I mean, because you sit down and are quiet does not mean you are in meditation. But meditation is the goal of meditation. Now, God, as most people, many people, some people think of him, is a theory. We think of him, we have been taught to think of him in Christianity as a big man sitting on a throne. How else are you going to explain God to a child? That this is something that is all-powerful, that is everywhere, can hear everything you do, can see everything you see, thinks every thought you think. Frightening, huh? In a way, it's something we have manufactured to comfort ourselves. He's going to be good to me, and he's going to take care of me when I can't take care of myself. And secondly, I think because we can very well see that there is a power. All this didn't come from nothing. There is a power. And there is a balance, which we find now and then. But there is a balance. There is something that is greater than me. We called it God. There is something that is greater than me. And we should jolly well acquiesce that as often as we can, very humbly. I don't care what you call it. Call it power, that's all right. We named it God, and then because we couldn't see him, we gave him everything we didn't want. Or that we couldn't get. That's mostly it, huh? That we couldn't get. Huh? We gave him all kinds of things that looked like they might have some value. We gave him values. We gave him attributes. We endowed him with all kinds of things, this image in our head. He's good, and he's kind, and he's jealous. And we don't even know him when we say these things about him. And yet even Jesus said, don't call me good, only the Father is good. And the Father is perfect. We're like very small children. Have you ever looked at books for children? They have very big pictures. Beth showed me a book in the bookstore the other day, and it had nothing but pictures. It didn't have any words at all. Pictures, but you understood perfectly what was going on. It was about a little dog, and he did everything. He took care of the kids and all that kind of stuff. Child could read this book, look at the pictures of this book, and know what was going on. And it was, nice. But our books, they're nicely colored, and they have big pictures and very small text, little bitty words underneath. For instance, you want a child to know what is the word for train, or for the word orange. So you show him a picture of a very nice, juicy orange. Or a little black puffing train. I can do it, 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 Yeah. And the child looks at the picture and not at the word. He's very pragmatic. He looks at the pictures. Little by little, very slowly, we show him word orange larger and picture smaller, and smaller picture and bigger words, and smaller picture and smaller picture, until seemingly the picture disappears for the word. And by golly, we can read. And now that we can read, we know it all. The picture is still in here. So they say, we think in pictures. And many of the religions have asked questions, and they are concerned with why. Why did God create the world? Why did he create it like it is? Why didn't he do it a little bit differently? We would have done it differently. Certainly, we would have seen to it that there was no sorrow and no pain and, all sunshine all summer, and we would have all been butterflies. Huh? This question, why God created the world as he did, nobody can answer. Oh, there's theories about it. Yeah, lots of them. In the first place, do you really know that God created the world? Do you? Who is this God that made all these things? Did he really? Your God? The picture? In the second place, now, if he created the world, how can you answer why? How much do we even know what's going on with ourselves, much more or less God? I mean, somebody asks somebody, why did you marry so-and-so? And you say, well, obviously we were in love. Why? Why were you in love? Well, I don't know. It just happened. But our minds are not satisfied with this. So we begin to burrow around with it. And then we look at this person that we're married to and say, well, I remember when her hair was long and black and beautiful. And she would say, oh, and his eyes were so blue and he was so tall. And then he says, and she seemed so alert. Think of it. Because of blue eyes or black hair, you're bound to someone for the rest of your life? You know, it's kind of absurd when you look at it like that. Yeah. So we say love. Love happens and no one knows why. Not really. It's really very mysterious. And then we have another word for it, and we say, well, it's chemistry. Well, you know, it's like you got two bottles up here. You put a few chemicals in this bottle and a few chemicals in this bottle, and they fall in love. Huh? And they will find reasons why. Oh, the neck of that bottle is so beautiful. That bottle is so shapely, and the color is so fantastic. See? All the things that we're bombarded with all the time. I mean, we pick and choose what we're bombarded with, but we are bombarded with so much you can't even keep up with it. See? That through this bombardment, this terrific that is thrown at us all the time, we have become quite accustomed to picking and choosing. We have a particular way of thinking, and this is very important for you to look at. We have a particular way of thinking. We have a particular way of seeing. We have a particular way of hearing. Now, in the seeing, you move your eyes all the time to make up for a blind spot. Do you do this with your hearing? Same thing. Do you do this with your mind, with your thinking? There is a blind spot. Remember, I have a certain way of thinking, I have a certain way of seeing, I have a certain way of hearing, I have a certain way of touching, how it reacts upon me. I have some buttons you can push and I'll go, and I have another button you can touch and nice. Yeah. And for me, this is right. And for you, this is right. For what is for me is right for me. And what is right for you is right for you. But your neighbor may find that you're talking nonsense because they have their particular way that they have developed, out of which the things that they have been bombarded with. Yeah. You know, a woman spends an evening with her sister's children. She's got 3 little tykes, small. And she winds up saying, I'll never have any. You know, this is a mess. Or, just the opposite, I can't wait to have my own. Yeah. Experiences we are bombarded with, out of which we develop patterns of thinking, of seeing, of hearing, of touching, our identifications, and we do not even know we're identified. Do we even know we have these patterns? There was a man once his husband, his father. And his wife had to go to some kind of an affair. So she said to him, "You're going to stay home tonight, and you are going to look after the children, just for this evening while I go to this event." So he decided he would keep a record of what he did. One evening, she's gone 3 hours, one evening, opened the door for the children 108 times, shouted, "Shut up," 94 times, stopped quarrels 17 times, provided water 29 times, answered the phone 11 times, lost temper 45 times, cried and wept 29 times, and ran after the children 4.5 miles. You think you're not bombarded? Yeah. And I'm still with Patanjali, and he says that yoga, now his form of yoga, is the restraining of the mind stuff from taking various forms. You make pictures. Restrain thyself, he says. I think it was Horace Greeley, wasn't it, who said, "Go west, young man, go west. There's your opportunity. Go west." Well, we did. And here we are, sitting on the very brink of the West. And there's nowhere to go except maybe Australia. No. There's one thing yet, and that's your mind. It's yourself. Restrain the mind stuff and come to yourself. Yeah. Charles Darwin, in his memoirs, he related an event that happened. You know, he traveled considerably developing his theory of evolution. His theory of evolution. His theory of evolution. Wherever you want to put the emphasis. He went around, like in the Pacific and all, in this huge ship. It's a ship, not a boat, it's a ship. Huge. Yeah. And he came to this small island, and he was very puzzled that the natives of this small island could not see this big ship. They couldn't see it. And this was really a strange experience to him. This was such a huge ship. They had never seen one before. Nothing like this had ever arrived at this island before. These people had no idea about big ships and had never heard of big ships. They only knew little boats, very small fishing boats, holding at the most 2 persons. And this ship was so huge, it simply eluded their vision, their sight. They couldn't see it. It was something totally out of their ken. They actually couldn't see it. Our patterns. God is in his world, said was Robert Browning. All's right with the world. Do you see him? Do you see it? Our habit patterns, are so strong that we only see certain things. The things mostly that we are accustomed to or that we can associate with ourselves and our patterns, our identifications. Things to which we are accustomed to seeing. The same with hearing, thinking. Very difficult to get out of your way of thinking, one's way of thinking. So if we want to know what is truth, we have to look for it in a different way. And I gave a talk about that here not too long ago. And that way, of course, is meditation. It is a not seeing and a not knowing. It is an unconditioning. It is a way, a method that gets us out of our identifications, out of our patterns. Meditation is the way to see and to know that. Or if we're using Christian terminology, Him. So that in this trying to see beyond seeing, we drop our habits. Just drop them for the moment while you're sitting. For these few moments to be utterly empty of oneself, of myself. And so if myself is not there, one is in a state of not knowing. Because all our knowing revolves around myself and me. And if we are empty of ourselves, then we will be able to see and to know what is. That eluded us the whole time. And Dionysus says, and at times he who is set free of things, then seeing enters into the truly mystical darkness of unknowing, wherefrom he puts out all intellectual knowledge and cleaves to that which is quite beyond touch and sight, the entire essence which is beyond all. See, we give up this thing that we have, like the natives that can't see the big ship. Just go into not seeing anything. Have it. And he says, we long exceedingly to dwell in the translucent darkness, and through not seeing and not knowing to see and know him who is beyond both vision and knowledge. See? The truth that is beyond vision, beyond sight and knowing. For my knowledge is my knowledge, and your knowledge is your knowledge. Both are ego-centralized. What then is God knowing? Without any my. So, in first reading, some of these words of Dionysus may look absurd, but there's this same kind of a current that's very similar to Lao Tzu, to Buddha, and to Jesus. And we read in the Bible, in Genesis. And that's also rather obscure. It starts out, the Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters. Now that's very cryptic language. The Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God divided the light from the darkness and called it day, and he called the darkness night. This was the first day of creation. Day. Don't jump to 24 hours, please. Don't jump to anything. It's God's day. You don't know what God's day is like. No. Then we come on with these other things that he creates by moving over the water. The Spirit moves. On the fourth day, the sun and the moon and the stars appear in the firmament. And now there's light. We have the sunlight, the light of the sun. On the fourth day. Yeah. So what is this light that appeared on the first day? the Spirit of God moved over the face of the waters. And he said, let there be light, and there was light. That's the first day. But now we come down to the fourth day before we've got sunlight. What is this that appeared on this first day? What would you call it? What would Christians call it? What would Buddhists call it? The Gnostics called it the first emanation. Now, not only what would you call it, but how would you experience this light that appeared? You've got to experience it too, you know. We look for light, that light, and rightly so. And with that light, we look for non-being and non-existence. The state before the light is separated from the darkness. Now, there's a pretty big ship Dionysus is talking about, huh? To go all the way back to that. Yeah. And, you know, it always, when Dionysius writes in there, and I read it, it sort of reminds me of Aurobindo's Savitri, the beginning of it, when he says, it was the hour before the gods awake. Across the path of the divine event, the huge foreboding mind of night, alone in her unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched, immobile, upon silence marge. It's another way of saying it. It was the hour before the gods awake. So what are your gods? And the Egyptians and the Greeks and all that, all the powers in you were gods. Now it's the hour. You can make this very personal then, you know, using this. It was the hour before the gods awake. When you first wake up in the morning, the truth is stretched like a dark night in the silence. And right away come the gods. The powers. I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do the other thing. They rule you. And Dionysius goes on to say, for this is truly to see and to know, and through the abandonment of all things to praise him who is beyond and above all. Now, these words of Dionysius, we find the abandonment of all things. People take this to be like a renunciation. You know, we renounce things. We renounce this, we renounce that. I'm not going to eat any more of this, and I'm not going to drink any more of that, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. I renounce it. That's for 3 days, and, you know, New Year's Eve is gone. Because we still think in the same way. Let us say, for instance, and we're just for instancing now, let us say that we have a man that is greedy for money. He could be greedy for food, he could be greedy for houses, but there is this, now, money is easy to talk about. We don't have any, so it's easy to talk about. Money to this particular man is very valuable. Everything, he thinks everything can be purchased with money. And then one day he comes to know that money can't buy everything. It cannot buy us a deeper quality of feeling. It can't buy us a bigger brain so we can think more exquisitely. It can't buy us a cleaner psyche. So there is something more than money. And realizing this person that we are, for instancing about, he renounces money. He tries to escape from money. But he still maintains the same value of money. Now, naturally, we give value to money because we can't exist in this society without it. It is the way of this world, yours and mine, everybody's, collectively. It is our medium of exchange for food and clothing and shelter and cars and luxuries and whatever. Yeah, it's important. But the thinking where people go overboard with it, that money can buy everything, and then to see that it doesn't, and to switch to the completely 180-degree opposite pole, renouncing money, it's no good. And now we can have everything. See, is the thinking. You can't do that either. It's still the same logic. It's just transposed from there to here. First it's accumulating, and then it's renouncing. The approach hasn't changed. Now, in this Dionysus and his abandonment of all things, if you read it over and over and understand him in his obscurity, we find a different idea. There is a different phenomenon. Simply, do not look at things. See, we are going to abandon things now. Do not look at things as things, because everything is full of God. Everything is overflowing with God. Even this that you call empty space. All is alive. The brown fluttering leaves and the very solid rock and those so-called frozen cannas, all is alive. And the individual who has experienced knows the aliveness of this existence. We're peculiar. I was going to say funny, but it's not funny, ha-ha. We're that too, but we're funny, peculiar. Funny, peculiar. Before a marriage, a woman is a person, and an independent person, to some extent. And the man before marriage is a person, an independent person, to some extent. After they're married, she becomes the wife, which to many men is simply a thing. And the man becomes a husband, and to many women, this is a thing. We labeled something and it became a thing. We reduce people to things as if they were commodities that we could use. But if everything is alive, then your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or whatever is alive, and it's not a thing. Everything is alive. St. Francis, he used to talk to trees. And there was this other, this man that went to Mount Athos. And he learned to meditate there with the monks. And a stranger came one day and asked him, "Have you ever seen God?" And he says, "I'll show you." And he walked, it's the dead of winter, and he walks over to this apricot tree, and he speaks to it. And the tree blossomed. St. Francis talked to trees. See? And when he lay dying, he thanked all of his disciples for all they had done for him. As much as he had helped them, he thanked them for what they had done for him. And And the last thing he did, he went and thanked his donkey. Brother donkey, you have been such a great servant to me. In what words can I be grateful to you? Now, we can realize this for ourselves, and then we can say with this tremendously great Isha Upanishad, all this is for the habitation by the Lord. By that renounced thou shouldst enjoy, lust not after any man's possessions. See, the abandonment of things, instead of thinking in labels and things and things and things, abandoning things, and this whole world is alive with God. All this is for the habitation by the Lord. And Dionysus goes on to say, for this is not unlike the art of those who hew out a lifelike image from stone, removing from around it all which impeded clear vision of the latent form, showing its true and hidden beauty solely by taking away. This is not news to you. No. We are, as he said, sculptors of the soul. There is a form within the formless. There is being. And the being is in the becoming. And we are the becoming. The becoming is like a shell. Let us say we for a moment abandon the shell. Momentarily only, not forever. But we abandon one state, which is the shell, for another state. We abandon the becoming for the being. Now, the moment that you abandon the becoming, what remains? What remains is ever pure, is ever strong, the Almighty, the All-Knowing, by abandoning things, that alone remains. And I think this is a little different than our usual idea of renunciation. And these ideas have been handed down to us for our enlightenment and for our pleasure from times long past. I mean, here is Dionysus in the 1st century. And we have the Upanishads out of India. Nobody knows how old they are. And then from the Buddha, that's centuries ago, 2,500 years. And Lao Tzu, another 2,500 years. And from Jesus, which is 2,000 years. They're old. And of course, the Egyptian lore is older, ancient. But it's the same truth, now as then, because truth is eternal. Truth is nobody's property. Truth belongs to no race and to no individual. No person can lay exclusive rights. You can't claim truth as yours. Truth is the nature of all of us. It's our soul. One who has had insight who realizes this truth, and it's no longer just a big ship eluding. Then using words sows seeds of this truth as best he can, amongst his brethren. The words very often hide the seed. And that seed is so vast, and it is so small. But somehow it has to be made practical. It has to be made simple, so it may penetrate to every portion of human society, and belongs, then to the highest of intellects and the commonest of minds, of every man, every woman, and every child. And in our searching for the seed of truth within ourselves, we make this effort to abandon ourselves momentarily, and we make this effort to make things simple. We make this effort to move from the becoming to the being. And in our simplicity, we bring about within us what they call the golden days, when every moment is a moment of worship, and the reality that is the only object of worship. So we learn to be silent and to listen, and maybe we can hear the sound of Light's footsteps. Okay. And now, may the peace and the power that passeth all understanding hold us and keep us in the love of the Christed consciousness.
If you find Lola's talks valuable, more will be posted in weeks to come.
Thank you very much.
If you find Lola's talks valuable, more will be posted in weeks to come.